Looking for financial support that strives to honor your community's rich heritage and cultural practices? Introducing RBC Origins. Our Indigenous banking specialists provide resources and advice that can help transform your ideas into tangible progress and community prosperity. At RBC, we're committed to driving your goals forward. Learn more at rbc.com/Indigenous. RBC, ideas happen here.
I'm Rick Harp. This is your APTN News Brief for Friday, August 1st. A house of hell. That's how Samantha Zabrowski describes her time in one Winnipeg North End home. And now that she's finally found a better place to live, the First Nations mother says her family isn't the only one to struggle with precarious housing in Manitoba. Sierra Bettens reports.
After working tirelessly to get her life and her children back, all Samantha Zabrowski wanted was a home.
We're almost 18 months into our sobriety. We had to start all over again from being reunificated with our kids at a transitioning center, starting all over from having nothing to building something to thinking we're having a home.
But for 4 months, she lived in what she describes as a house of hell. In early 2025, Zabrowski found a rental on Alfred Avenue in Winnipeg's North End through an online listing. But when she moved in on March 11th, she alleges it was nothing like the photos.
Leaving a transitioning center, fleeing for our lives, thinking we have a home to go to walk into the house of hell. No fridge, no heat, no water, no stove, nothing for me and my kids, no furnace. So we literally couldn't stay there. We had to leave.
Zabrowski and her family temporarily stayed at a hotel. She stored her items at the house on Alfred Avenue and did her best to secure what she alleges was an unsecure house. When they returned to retrieve their belongings on March 17th, she says they discovered the house was broken into.
Everything, the traditional dresses, my drums, my rattles, my kids' stuff, our clothing, our bikes, our electric bikes, our games, our couches, our furniture, right to the deep freezer and the food, right from everything that we had in the house, gone.
On March 17th, Zabrowski moved into another Ember Realty property on Aberdeen Avenue, but she says it wasn't much better than the previous rental, alleging
there's black mold, pigeon infestation. You can't go upstairs. You use the upstairs bathroom. It leaks through the ceilings. We're no longer able to bath the kids into the bathroom, into the area, the baby, due to the fact of the black mold smelling around the bathrooms.
Zabrowski received a notice of termination from Ember for non-payment of rent in April, but continued to live at the property on Aberdeen while on several housing waitlists.
That is the kind of housing that we know is most accessible to folks who are living in low incomes.
Shauna McKinnon, a professor of urban and inner city studies at the University of Winnipeg, says the lack of social and affordable housing in Manitoba leaves many low-income families with few options.
And especially when you're talking about families with a bunch of kids, it's really virtually impossible to get housing that's affordable in the private market for those families.
She says Manitoba's Your Way Home strategy has focused on housing people living in encampments, but leaves out others experiencing housing insecurity.
Housing is really the foundation, right, in terms of health, education, employment, all of those things. Family unification of folks who are involved in child welfare. And so it really should be made the top priority to expand the supply.
After a hearing on July 8th, which the landlord did not show, the Residential Tenancies Branch ordered Ember Realty to pay Zabrowski $194.20 for the property on Aberdeen and $5,479.60 for the property on Alfred Avenue by August 5th.
We want our money back for the rent, the damage, the lost properties, the furnace bills that I've been paying for.
APTN reached out to Ember Realty for comment via telephone and email on multiple occasions, but they never responded. We also visited their offices on Selkirk Avenue, which appeared to be closed. A sign on the door directed tenants to pay their rent to the pawn shop down the street. Zabrowski recently moved out of the property on Aberdeen Avenue and into a new rental not managed by Ember Realty. But she's sharing her story knowing other Manitoba families are experiencing similar struggles. While APTN cannot independently verify them, online reviews of Ember Realty allege numerous issues, including black mold, pest issues, and a lack of communication from landlords. Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
To Edmonton, where the mother of a missing 14-year-old routinely searches the streets for signs of her son. With more, Chris Stewart.
I noticed slow changes. He started staying out longer, then he wouldn't come home for a night.
On June 1st, Alana Bird last saw her son, 14-year-old Samuel Bird. He was staying with friends and didn't come home that night. His mother said it wasn't unusual lately for him not to come home for a single night, and says Samuel began hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Then substances came, like alcohol, and we tried to do tough love too, like they're just gonna take you down the wrong road or something bad's gonna happen. And he was just a teenager. I don't think he knew anything like bad would ever happen to him.
For 2 months, Alana has been searching Edmonton, looking for her son. Family, friends, and supporters helped in the searches. This past Sunday, a search and vigil was held for Samuel.
It's just been a lot of searching, like even those first couple of days, like I was going to West Ed, sitting there asking just random like kids that I thought was his age, just to be like, do you guys know this boy? Have you seen Samuel? And a lot of them were like, oh, I just seen him. And so I was like having some hope and everything.
But no solid leads happened. The Edmonton Police Service told APTN News the investigation is ongoing with no new updates.
I'll do whatever I have to find him.
Meanwhile, Alana fears the worst for her boy, but she has not given up hope.
I'll continue looking every day until like I search this whole area, and then if not, we'll move out of town, and if not, we'll keep searching. I'll never give up because that's my baby.
Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
And finally, an online station serving the NWT for a decade has finally won an FM radio license. With more on Cabin Radio, the independent news outlet based in Yellowknife, Bruce De La Cruz.
I just want to say a huge thank you to the community that supported us.
This week has been anything but ordinary for the Cabin Radio team. As of July 30th, Cabin Radio is now a fully fledged FM radio station.
Something that we weren't able to say for the past 9 or so years of our history. We spent 6 years trying to get to this point.
Ollie Williams is editor and co-founder.
And finally, this week, the CRTC, the federal regulator, said yes.
Cabin Radio has been an independent online station and news outlet for the last decade, serving Yellowknife and some 30 northern communities. They have built a large Indigenous audience along the way. Ollie wants Cabin Radio to be a first step for aspiring journalists, local news produced for locals by locals.
It's already quite difficult to get journalists and broadcasters who are prepared to come to the North and really understand the North. Wouldn't it be so much easier and a bunch more appropriate if the reporters and the broadcasters just came from northern communities and already had that understanding baked in? Those are the experiences we ought to be able to draw from.
Everyone here is very accepting. They don't think about the color of your skin or like who you are. They just want you to do a good job.
Jasmine Nasso-Galawak is a Nuvialawit and Dene. She started working as a broadcast assistant in February. She and her family relied on Cabin Radio to keep them informed during the 2023 Yellowknife wildfire crisis.
In my opinion, Cabin Radio, even before I started here, was a huge resource for a lot of people, especially for me during evacuation.
As an aspiring journalist, she's grateful for the spaces that Cabin Radio creates for Indigenous people looking to join the broadcast industry.
I was born and raised here. There was always like this gap between me and people where just because I didn't look a certain way or I didn't have a certain skin color, I was kind of treated like an outcast. But ever since coming here to Cabin Radio, my mind completely switched on that.
Reflecting on the new license, Ollie says he's truly grateful for the support from Cabin Radio's loyal listeners over the years.
We would not be in this position now if it hadn't been for years of people writing letters of support, encouraging us the whole time, telling us how much they wanted this. And hopefully this week feels like a victory for them as much as it does for us.
Although Cabin Radio has received their FM license, they are waiting for new gear to be able to start broadcasting on their frequency at 93.9. Bruce De La Cruz, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
And that's your APTN News Brief for Friday, August 1st. I'm Rick Harp.